If hearing aids get any smaller than they are right now, you're not going to be able to see them at all. Hey guys, Cliff Olson, Doctor of Audiology and founder of Applied Hearing Solutions in Phoenix, Arizona, and in this video, I'm talking about technological advancements that are allowing hearing aids to get smaller than ever before. Okay, so if you ask someone who's had hearing aids before, most of them will tell you that they do not care about the size of the hearing aid as long as that hearing aid helps them hear better. On the other hand, if you ask someone who's never worn hearing aids before, a lot of those individuals will tell you that they want those hearing aids to be completely invisible. What this leads to is hearing aid manufacturers trying to jam as many features inside of a hearing aid to improve their performance as much as possible, while at the same time making those hearing aids as small as possible to appeal to both existing hearing aid users and new hearing aid users. But how do hearing aid manufacturers continue to push the envelope and make their hearing aids smaller and smaller while still improving their performance at the same time? Well, that is exactly what I'm going to be covering in today's video, but before I do, if you could do me a huge favor, click the like button, it really helps out the channel, and if you are not yet subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on, go ahead and do that as well, it is greatly appreciated, and a huge shout out to Oticon for sponsoring today's video, but more on them in a little bit. Okay, so the first technological advancement that allowed hearing aids to get smaller and improve performance at the same time was the invention of the transistor. When I say the word transistor, you're probably thinking of an old school transistor radio, and you would not be wrong. But back in the 1940s, transistors also were used inside of hearing aids, and they replaced much larger vacuum tube technology. Just imagine if your hearing aid was the size of a suitcase that you had to carry around because it had vacuum tubes inside of it that made it huge. Not only did transistors significantly reduce the size of hearing aid technology, but we can also thank Moore's Law, which states that the number of transistors inside of a microchip doubles approximately every 2 years. This allowed the processing power of a microchip to improve in speed and efficiency at an exponential rate, thus making it to where even though these hearing aids were substantially smaller, the processing ability of these hearing aids was substantially better as well. Then came along the integrated circuit, which allowed for millions of electronic components to be jammed inside of an extremely small circuit board. This integrated circuit led to the development of the very first in-the-ear hearing aid due to its much smaller size. When we saw the digital revolution start in the mid-1990s with the release of the very first fully digital hearing aid called the Oticon Digifocus, this marked the transition from analog sound processing to digital sound processing thanks to further improvements in this integrated circuit technology. Then in the 2000s, hearing aid manufacturers started to develop the amplification-specific integrated circuits. We call this system on a chip, where basically a single microchip does everything inside of a hearing aid. This allowed hearing aid manufacturers to combine multiple functions such as memory, digital sound processing, and amplification onto a single chip with improved performance. This has also allowed for other features such as directional microphone capabilities and wireless streaming technology. Speaking of dual microphones, the invention of MEMS microphones, which are high-quality silicon solid-state microphones, allowed for these microphones to be substantially smaller with better energy conservation. And speaking of better energy conservation, you also have to give credit to both rechargeable and disposable battery technology that got better as well, allowing them to store a lot more energy in a much smaller size. In the early 2020s, all of these different technological advancements led to the development of the first deep neural network, which uses artificial intelligence to separate speech from background noise. And one of the pioneers of this AI revolution is Oticon, today's video sponsor. In 2021, Oticon was the very first hearing aid manufacturer to release their first generation deep neural network that they trained with over 12 million different sound samples to perform deep learning. This deep learning allowed Oticon hearing aids to better identify the sound characteristics of speech and the characteristics of noise, so their hearing aids could do a better job of separating the two. In 2023, before any other hearing aid manufacturer could develop their first generation of a deep neural network, Oticon released their second generation of their deep neural network inside of their Oticon Intent hearing aids. This increased their amount of channels from 64 to 256 to measure the output. This has allowed their hearing aids to be even more precise and accurate in identifying the sounds that you want to hear versus the sounds you do not want to hear. And now this second generation deep neural network on the Sirius platform has now worked its way from the Oticon Intent receiver and canal hearing aids into the custom in-the-ear Oticon OWN SI hearing aids. As you can see, the Oticon OWN IIC hearing aid is incredibly small, yet Oticon has still been able to take many of the features of the RIC-style Intent hearing aid and get it into a hearing aid that fits entirely inside of your ear canal. Not only do you get the benefit of Oticon's Deep Neural Network version 2.0 inside of a hearing aid that is so small that you can't even see it while you're wearing it, but you also get access to other features like sudden sound stabilizer to reduce the amount of amplification given to impulse sounds. This way, no matter what type of noise comes at you, your Oticon OWN SI hearing aids will be able to handle it. The OWN SI hearing aid also gives you an additional 2.7 decibels of signal-to-noise ratio improvement over the previous Oticon OWN technology to help you hear in background noise even better. So if you're looking for a small, custom in-the-ear hearing aid that doesn't sacrifice performance, look no further than the Oticon OWN SI. As you can see, hearing aid manufacturers like Oticon continue to push the limits on what's even possible when it comes to hearing aid technology, getting these devices smaller than ever before without sacrificing performance, and in fact, even improving performance. In the future, I expect to see even more technological advancement happen that we can't even wrap our heads around now, like better wireless connectivity, different receiver technology, better battery life, and better artificial intelligence. And if history tells us anything, further technological advancement is going to continue to happen, which means that the future of hearing aid technology is incredibly exciting.